I just make my case. I'm on in the morning. I own my phone and I'm always in the zone. Need a zone, out of zone, and then we can get it poppin'. Pick the topic if you want to skip it, shine and skip it, happen. Took these sports and made it bounce. Alright, undisputed.
Welcome to Undisputed. We're live from Los Angeles. I'm Joy Taylor here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Joy. I'm sorry, I just can't help myself. How about them Cowboys? I just had to do it today. I just couldn't stop myself.
Gotta get Cowboys colors on today.
Oh, yeah, I got my Cowboys.
First of all, Skip,
metallic blue.
They haven't played since Sunday. They don't play again until another 3 days.
Yeah.
Come on.
Come on, man.
No, ain't no come on, man. Keep on talking about them Cowboys.
You have no choice. They are making your life more miserable by the day.
Admit it, you're coming around to the Cowboys a little bit.
Come on, Jerry. How about Jerry? How about Jerry?
Let's start it off with the red hot Cowboys. Dallas has won 8 games in a row and hosts the 5-4 Ravens on Sunday in Jerry's world. The Cowboys have never beaten the Ravens, going 0-4 against them in franchise history. Skip?
Yes?
Who do you like on Sunday?
Never.
This is going to be a shock to everyone out there. First of all, I still believe with all my heart and soul that Dak Prescott has to win this game, this Sunday at Jerry World, to keep his job and keep Tony Romo, now dressed fully in pads and helmet, on the sideline. We will discuss that more deeply in just a moment. Now back to Sunday's game. I believe this will be Dak Prescott's toughest test yet, because this time he will not have Ezekiel Elliott helping him out nearly as much against this Baltimore Ravens defense. But I believe that Dak Prescott will prevail in the fourth quarter once again in this game, but do so barely, just as he did at Pittsburgh last Sunday. This is why. This Baltimore Ravens team, the harder I look at it, it is a dangerously strange and almost inexplicably bizarre football team. Because Baltimore is now 5-4, but Baltimore has played 9 close games. Baltimore had chances to win all 4 that Baltimore lost. Baltimore led the Jets 10-0, and somehow, I don't know what happened. Geno got hurt, Fitzpatrick came in, and they lost 24-16, and that's their widest margin of losing, was 8 points. So, still a very good, veteran, tough-minded defensive football team. Number 1 in yards allowed. Number 3, tied for 3rd, in points allowed. Number 1 against the rush. So all of a sudden, I'm looking at the point spread, my Cowboys by 7. I'm saying, what? You're kidding me. Dallas has covered, as we all know, 8 straight point spreads, as well as winning 8 straight games. It's pretty great. I don't think they can cover 7 in this game. I think Baltimore will go in there as they did once upon a time. This is before your time, but I can't wait to ask Ray Lewis about this night. Do you remember the last night at Texas Stadium, the night they closed the stadium and asked 100 alums to come back? Mm-hmm. Ray Lewis and company, this is a little after your time in Baltimore, went into Texas Stadium that night as the underdog, sort of the homecoming opponent, if you will, and just humiliated Jerry Jones and company on a national Saturday night stage in December. And I think the Ravens are spoiling my man Terrell Suggs. I'm sure he's watching right now. Hey, T-Sizzle. We've had our battles before, but this is exactly the kind of game this veterans Ravens defense loves to go in and spoil the party at Jerry World. So let's look at this defense. Ezekiel obviously leading the league in rushing. Baltimore allows 71 yards a game rushing, and I don't think Zeke will get more. I'll give him 80 in this game. This Baltimore defense is hard to score on, as I said, tied for 3rd in points allowed. I'll give Dallas that they allow 17.8 points a game. I'm going to give Dallas 20 in this game. I'm going to say that Dallas pulls it out 20-17 because without much Zeke, Dak has to make the plays in the quarter, which is the fourth quarter. So I say he rises and shines again with Tony Romo continuing to look over his shoulder. We know that Tony conceded the job, but that was all Tony's doing. Jerry didn't ask him to do it. He actually just did it on his own. Jason Garrett didn't ask Tony to concede to Dak Prescott. Right. No, he just did it on his own on Tuesday, the off day. Thank you, Tony. Appreciated that. Came straight from the heart. But I'm not buying it from the owner or the head coach. And again, I'm told that Jason Garrett is as pro Tony Romo as the owner continues to be. So they're waiting for their opening. They're waiting for their excuse. They're waiting for Dak to have the one big rookie game that inevitably any rookie does. It could come against this defense, which I think is spoiling to take Dak Prescott to school this Sunday. And it is highly capable of doing just that. If they can take Zeke away and turn Dak into just a pocket passer, you might say, boy, you got a shot there. I think very close game. I think it'll be your basic ugly game to watch. I don't think there'll be nothing much pretty about it. It'll be grinded out for my Cowboys. I think Mike Wallace might get deep for one big touchdown pass. I think Steve Smith might get deep for another one. But they're not going to score more than 17 because the quarterback is still Joe Flacco, not Joe Flacco. I'm sorry, but Joe Flacco has thrown 9 touchdown passes to 9 interceptions. Joe Flacco is 26th in QBR in the National Football League out of the 32 qualifying quarterbacks. So I'm going to stick with Dak 20, Flacco 17, and Dak Prescott gets my Cowboys to 9-1 and saves his job once again.
Well, you look at the Ravens defensively, they remind you, or Seattle, they remind their mirror images of each other. They are a very, very prideful bunch of guys.
Yes, they are.
And it doesn't matter how well they're playing offensively, that defense will always show up. T. Sizzle, as you mentioned, Tim Jernigan, C.J. Mosley, they are a prideful group of guys that started with Ray Lewis in the late 90s.
Yep.
With Ed Reed, Suggs was also there. Those two guys have moved on, and now Sizzle has those guys playing really well. You mentioned they are the number 1 rush defense. They've given up 69 total yards running the ball the last 2 ball games. Number 1 in total D, 5th in takeaways. And that's what you're going to have to do. And the thing that I love about Dean Pease and most good defensive coordinators, they find a way to take away what you do really well. And as good as Dak Prescott, as great as Dak Prescott is playing, Ezekiel Elliott is the guy that you need to take away. You need to force them to be in, instead of 3rd and short, 31 to 3 is what we consider, what teams would consider short, have them 3rd and 5 or longer. You need to take the element of the run away. Force Dak Prescott, because we have yet to see him throw the football when he has to. And now I'm not talking about the last thing of the drive, because everybody knows if you're down by 2 or 3 points, you're going to have to throw the football. But I'm talking about early in the ball game. You need to be able to dictate to Dak that you must throw the football here. There's no possible way we're going to allow Zeke to pick up a first down on 8 yards. Force him into those type of throws and then see what happens. I love, you know what I love most about the Ravens is their 2 receivers, because I went to a fight once and a football game broke out with Steve Smith, because you know he's feisty.
Hey, I know him well.
That's my guy.
And I saw him at last year's Super Bowl. He obviously wasn't playing, but he came up and literally picked me up off the ground and bear hugged me. He is a strong little man.
Oh, and he doesn't take any stuff from anyone.
Nobody.
Doesn't matter how small, doesn't matter how big, he will come to play. And Mike Wallace have seemed to found a resurgence. He never quite fit in Miami because they didn't use him how Pittsburgh used him, and that was to throw the ball deep. He never really found a home in Minnesota because that's not Teddy Bridgewater's strength, throwing the football down the field. He's come back to Baltimore. They get the ball in his hand in space, hence the 95-yard touchdowns a couple of weeks ago. He still can get over the top. He still has blazing speed. I'm going with the upset, Skip Bayless. They have the lead late in the ball game, but the most clutch kicker in football, Tucker, for the Baltimore Ravens, kicks a field goal from 43 yards away, and the Baltimore Ravens win 22-20.
22-20, except you have one misconception there. Dan Bailey's the clutchest kicker in
Tucker.
football. Tucker might be the longest clutch kicker occasionally in pro football, but when it's just time to make that 45-yarder, that 50-yarder, my money is on my guy.
Like that 60-yarder that he hit on that Monday night against Detroit, Tucker? That Tucker? The one that he kicked in overtime against in Denver in 2012, that Tucker? Oh, yeah.
The Dan Bailey, who should have had a chance from 58 yards to beat the Giants on opening day at Jerry World.
Oh, you still there?
Thank you, Terrence Williams, for that. You're still in my doghouse over that, but it's okay. Still 8-1.
No, I like the Ravens. I'm telling you, the Ravens will bring the physicality. I love this matchup because we know what the Cowboys are. They're an offensive line-driven football team. They do a great job of opening holes for Ezekiel. They do a great job in pass protection for Dak. But with the physicality, I'm really anxious to see that matchup with Sizzle and Tyron Smith, because that's going to be the determining factor. He's going to have to get home, going to have to hit him a bunch, going to have to take him down a couple of times, They stop the run, and they win this ball game 22-20 on a late field goal by Tucker.
Remember, my man T. Sizzle playing with a torn biceps tendon, which makes you basically a one-armed man, as Manny Pacquiao was against Floyd Mayweather Jr., fighting with one arm tied behind his back. So Sizzle can get loose, but can he get a hold of a big, strong, poised Dak Prescott and get him on the ground? I think not.
Why do you think not?
Because he can't tackle. You know, it's the JPP syndrome. For a different reason, JPP can't get two hands on you and pull you down.
And that's what Floyd said. If I just hit you hard enough, I don't need to put both hands on you. Just one of them would do.
Floyd only needs 2 feet because he can run. And that's all he did against Manny Pacquiao. But to start the show, Joyce said, you're starting to see the light. You're starting to come around on my Cowboys. And yet, once again, you've stepped in it. Once again, when I gave you the opening to at least put one toe up on the bandwagon, no, you backed off and you said, oh, maybe the Ravens. You keep wishing and hoping that somebody will prove you right and you're going to be proved wrong again.
Do you understand that I'm unscrewing the lug nuts on the wagon? Mm-hmm. Well, me and Jerry. You know, I still have Jerry on my side. Mm-hmm. He hasn't said anything. That was, as you mentioned, that was Tony Romo's decision.
It was.
Jason Garrett didn't say anything.
No,
that was Tony Romo's decision.
Correct.
Well, he did say that he thinks he has to win this game, too, to keep his job.
He did.
Oh, okay.
He's thought that all along. There are certain people in sports that you learn not to bet against. Dak Prescott is teaching you not to bet against him, and he'll teach you again this Sunday.
What about Jerry? Jerry, don't you let Skip Bayless off the hook. Don't you make Skip Bayless out of a liar.
There's one way Dak keeps Jerry out of the equation. You can't keep him from winning football games. I told you he may have to go 15-1 to keep his job until the playoffs, but he's got a chance to go 15-1.
Let me tell you what's going to happen. Jerry's going to tell Jason, you need to make sure Tony get 50% of those first team snaps.
I think that happened. I read this week that they did share first. I don't know if it's 50-50, but it was probably like 60-40 this week.
I heard now. I don't know how true it is, but it was mentioned that they put an extra period in so Tony can get some extras.
Sure.
So I'm thinking Jerry's calling down to, hey, I need Tony to get like 50-50 a year. Mm-hmm. Jason.
They got to have him.
You're going to be, Skip, when this happens, you're going to be coming in every day. I can't believe Jerry would undermine his own good intentions.
I don't think he'll say he can't believe it. We've been talking about it enough.
I've been saying it, but what I will be surprised at is if the Ravens beat Dak Prescott.
You won't be, don't be surprised.
No, I won't. I'll be shocked.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to call you. Mm-hmm. I will send you a nice little, hey,
I don't even want to know.
The little waving emoji.
But let's stay with the Cowboys.
Have I sent you any gloat text yet?
No,
he saves it all for you.
8 reasons to gloat and not once, because I don't gloat.
Really?
Except on this show.
Oh, exactly. Okay,
exactly. Cowboys. After Dallas hosts Baltimore, they have a quick turnaround on Thanksgiving at home against the Redskins. Skip, how will this play out for the Cowboys?
Again, if Dak loses and has a stinker, and we saw him have a 3.5 quarter stinker against the Eagles, you recall, and yet he turned it around and pulled it out of the fire. But if he has a 4-quarter stinker and they lose even a close game, I believe that Tony Romo will be thrown back into the fire in which he got burned a year ago on Thanksgiving Day at Jerry World against the red-hot Carolina Panthers, a game that I thought Tony Romo, who had already come back from injury to win at Dolphins, sorry about that, the week before. I guess it happens a lot now, right? But then I thought that Tony was in sync enough that he could come back against Josh Norman and company, and I picked, on my former show, Dallas to win that game. And Josh Norman gloat texted me after the game. He actually called me out to the media after the game. Oh, so you thought, yeah, okay. And by the way, Tony Romo in that game was abysmal. Barely threw for 100 yards, no TDs, and 3 picks in that game, including 2 pick sixes. So would Jerry dare to throw him back into the psychological fire the last game that Tony started, which was last year on Thanksgiving, on the biggest stage in the sport, according to Jerry Jones? This is his stage, man, that late afternoon Thanksgiving game. Yep. Everybody's usually finished with their turkey, and most people are captive audience to watch my Dallas Cowboys. But there might be too short of a turnaround. So let's just do the hypothetical. If they do lose Sunday, is it possible Tony's just not quite ready for Thanksgiving Day turnaround, which is on short rest, obviously? Maybe. But for sure, if Dak lost, and you got two dangerous opponents now, you do have the Ravens, as we just discussed, but you got your arch rivals who won at Jerry World a year ago against Tony Romo also. He got hurt in that game. Two bad games. And the arch rivals are dangerous. They can win there. They love to win there. RG3 took him to school there in his rookie year. So my point is, maybe Dak could keep his job just on short turnaround, but for sure, if he lost 2 games in a row, he is out for the rest of the year. It just depends on if they think Tony Romo, and I don't have any inside info on this, is he completely ready? Did he get enough first-team snaps to be ready to turn around on Thursday? My gut says yes, they would throw him back into the fire in which he got burned a year ago.
Could Romo get his job back if the Cowboys lose either of the next 2 games? I'm going to say no, because I think he's played well enough to earn more wiggle room than what you're suggesting that he might receive. And plus, I think if Tony Romo had not come out and said what he said on Tuesday, I probably would have agreed with your idea or premise that this could possibly happen. Now, I don't put anything past Jerry. I really don't.
I don't either.
But I'm willing to. I think Tony's saying that, look, the guy should not have to worry about looking over his shoulder. He's played well enough to lead this football team, and we are a team. It's something special here, and I don't want to be a distraction. I don't want to be an interruption of what could possibly happen. So, no, Skip, I don't think so. And I think they're going to lose on Sunday. I have yet to determine whether or not they'll lose Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay, let's do your hypothetical because you're obviously leaning that direction. If they lose twice in whatever it is, 4 days,
4 days,
then what happens?
Then you have 10 days before your next game.
No, it's actually they play a Thursday night game at Minnesota.
So it'll be a week. So basically,
the mini bye comes after the next Thursday.
Okay, yeah. So then, no, I think he's done enough. From what I've seen from Dak Prescott, the likelihood of he put together back-to-back bad games, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he'll be the reason why they lose either of these games. I think it's going to be more Baltimore than Dak Prescott, and I think that's what you're going to have to look at. If he plays well and they lose. Mm-hmm. I think he's fine. The problem is if he plays bad. I mean, what do you say? He's had a bad quarter or two, but over a 9-game stretch. I mean, we've seen even some of the great quarterbacks struggle for entirety of games.
I thought he was awful for 3.5 quarters against Philly. Just awful.
Well, he made some uncharacteristic mistakes because we haven't seen him do that. I thought he tried to force the ball a couple of times, and that got him in trouble. As long as he's going through his progressions, the guy's open, I give him the football. I'm not worried about trying to get Dez this X many targets. I'm not trying to get Dez this many catches. Hey, Cole Beasley's open, I'm throwing the ball to Cole Beasley. If Jason Witten's open, I'm throwing the ball to Jason Witten. It doesn't matter. As long as he's going through his progressions and where his reads takes him, he gives the football up. Got no problem with that. I don't see him having 2 back-to-back bad games, Skip. I don't think I think the thing is for the Ravens is to make him be a passer. Remove Zeke from the equation because when you give them a run-pass option, they're impossible to beat. If you allow Dak to throw for 250 and no turnovers, and you let Zeke run for another 125, 150 with 2 to 3 touchdowns, you're not beating anybody like that. I don't care who your defense is.
But clearly, you have already picked the Ravens to win this game.
Yes.
And it sounds like you're leaning toward the Redskins to win the next game. And I'm going to go on record right here, right now. There is no way Dak Prescott keeps his job if they lose 2 in a row. It would be right on time with 5 games left, plenty of time, to put the Pro Bowl, box office, high-risk, high-reward quarterback back in the starting lineup. I promise you, it's all Jerry has wanted to do. He said 2 weeks ago, the regret quote, remember this? Yep. I would regret it if we did not win a Super Bowl with Tony Romo here. He bet Valley Ranch. He bet his football pride on Tony Romo in 2013 with a $108 million deal against conventional wisdom. When most Cowboy fans said, what are you doing, Jerry? He went so far out on that limb that this is a pride issue for him. And for him to have, by your potential scenario, an 8-3 team with 5 games left, there is no way he wouldn't put Romo back into the equation, hoping that 8-3 is good enough to launch us into home playoff games if we close the deal. And their schedule's pretty easy. They get the Bucks and Lions at home later.
Right.
So if they close out, who knows with how much home field advantage, but maybe enough to get Seattle to come there for the NFC Championship game, and you could have Roma at quarterback in Jerry Jones' eyes, he would be the happiest man on earth. And I promise you, it would be Tony's team for the last 5 games and whatever after that.
I know I feel real comfortable picking against them on Sunday because I like what the Ravens represent on defense. Flacco doesn't have to be the playoff Joe Flacco. He just can't commit the costly turnover. And so that's why I'm picking this game to be close 22-20 for the Ravens. But I'm not worried about Thanksgiving. I think he plays well, but Ezekiel Elliott is the engine that make this car run. And if they can shut that engine down, I like the Ravens' chances.
Well, we'll find out on Sunday at Jerry's World, and they're going for their 9th straight win, which is something they've never done in a single season in franchise
and I
history.
can't have you crying for like a week straight.
Coming up, Floyd Mayweather says he's made enough money in his career. He doesn't have to fight anymore. Do Skip and Shannon believe him? They'll debate that.
I'm going to say that